At the very bottom of our planet lies a land unlike any other. A vast, frozen wilderness stretching more than 5 million square miles. Antarctica, the coldest, most inhospitable continent on Earth. Here, ice sheets bury the land in layers more than a mile deep. Temperatures plunge well below freezing, averaging around -49 degrees Fahrenheit, and hurricane-force winds roar across the desolate plains at speeds of over 100 miles per hour. Today, Antarctica is home only to scattered research stations. Outposts of human determination where small groups of scientists endure the brutal conditions to study the mysteries of this remote frontier. Mainstream geology has long insisted that ancient humans never settled here. The continent, they argue, has always been too hostile for life to flourish. But could that assumption be wrong? In 2016, satellite images revealed something unexpected. Emerging from the endless white, strange, triangular formations jutted through the ice. Perfectly geometric, symmetrical. To some researchers, they resembled pyramids. Not mountains of stone shaped by nature, but colossal monuments crafted by intelligent hands. The discovery sparked immediate debate. Were these nothing more than nunotocs, peaks of rock poking through the ice sheet? Or could they be the ruins of an ancient civilization, preserved for millennia beneath Antarctica's frozen shroud? Even more astonishing are claims that one of these formations possesses a square base, 2 kilometers long on each side, dwarfing the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. If this is true, it raises a staggering question. Is it possible that our ancestors once reached the Antarctic continent, and not only reached it, but built here? If so, when was it done? How could such a massive structure have been constructed in one of the harshest places on Earth? And, most importantly, who built it? Join us as we delve into the intriguing mystery of the Antarctic Pyramids. Scientists generally agree that Antarctica was once a land of mystery and intrigue. The continent, shrouded in ice for over 34 million years, holds secrets that could rewrite history. What we know today is that Antarctica was once part of the supercontinent Gondwanaland, which also included present-day South America, Africa, Australia, and Indian subcontinent. As Gondwanaland began to break apart around 100 million years ago, Antarctica separated and drifted to its current location. The presence of ancient ruins on Antarctica suggests that it may have been home to prehistoric civilizations much earlier than previously believed. This challenges the conventional narrative that Antarctica has always been inhospitable to human life. Evidence of past civilizations, such as the Antarctic Pyramids, indicates that the continent may have experienced a warmer climate and been more hospitable in ancient times. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence supporting this theory is the discovery of fossil fuels such as coal and oil in Antarctica. The presence of these fossil fuels suggests that Antarctica may have once had a more temperate climate suitable for plant and animal life. Additionally, geological studies indicate that the continent was likely free of ice sheets until around 34 million years ago. The discovery of fossils in Antarctica further supports the theory of a warmer climate and the possibility of prehistoric settlements. Fossils of ancient plants, animals, and even insects have been found on the continent, indicating that it was once part of a larger landmass connected to other continents. These fossils provide a glimpse into the prehistoric world and suggest that Antarctica was not always the frozen wasteland it is today. The existence of these potential ancient settlements on Antarctica raises questions about the capabilities and ingenuity of early human civilizations. If indeed they were able to navigate the harsh conditions of the continent, It suggests that they possessed advanced technologies and knowledge of the environment that were previously thought to be beyond their capabilities. As we continue to explore Antarctica, we may uncover more evidence that sheds light on the continent's mysterious past. Further discoveries have the potential to revolutionize our understanding of ancient civilizations and their ability to adapt and thrive in extreme environments. We are about to travel back to a time before there was such a thing as Antarctica, when the southernmost continent was a land of lush rainforests, towering mountains, and maybe even pyramids. In 2016, satellite images revealed mysterious shapes lurking beneath the ice. Massive pyramids rising up through the Antarctic snow. Are they natural peaks or something more sinister? Something left behind by a long-lost and perhaps even forgotten civilization? It's me, and today we're answering the extraordinary question: did an ancient civilization build pyramids in Antarctica? The first thing you might be wondering is how anything like this could exist here, in the coldest, most inhospitable place on Earth. But geologists say Antarctica has been frozen solid for millions of years. Well, not entirely. Some evidence suggests that parts of the continent may have been ice-free as recently as 4000 BC, just 4,000 years ago. But if there had been people here all that time ago, why haven't we found any evidence of them? Because, over time, entire civilizations can disappear. Just think of the Indus Valley, a thriving Bronze Age city wiped away by the shifting sands of the desert, or the many Native American tribes who lived across the continent before the Europeans arrived. Entire cultures can vanish without a trace. But Antarctica is unique. It's covered in ice, a thick, unmoving blanket of snow that conceals what lies beneath. It wasn't until 1970 that the first confirmed human explorers set foot on the icy continent. It was only in the late 19th century that explorers started charting its coastline. The first to do so was the British explorer James Clark Ross in 1841. But before the Age of Discovery, before European ships ever set sail for the New World, there were the Polynesian peoples, whose ancestors journeyed from island to island across the Pacific. And among their legends, there are echoes of a distant land of white rocks emerging from the sea. Could this be a memory of Antarctica? Could it have been visited thousands of years ago and then lost to history? The Polynesian navigator Satawa Tupaya described the land as being half the size of New Zealand and surrounded by ice. He spoke of seals and penguins, of frozen lands at the bottom of the world. For hundreds of years, his stories and those of others like him were dismissed as myths. But recent discoveries suggest otherwise. In 2017, German scientists drilled deep into the seafloor off the Antarctic coast. What they found inside the cores of the ocean floor shook the scientific community to its core. Traces of more than 60 species of plants, not cold weather mosses or algae, but flowering plants you'd expect in a lush rainforest. That means Antarctica may once have been warm and humid, covered in rich vegetation, more like northern Italy than a frozen desert. If so, it begs the question, if Antarctica was once a place where people could walk, build, and thrive, could they also have built the mysterious structures we've seen in satellite images? The answer might lie with another group of explorers, the Vikings. More than 1,000 years ago, Eric the Red, an Icelandic murderer, was banished to the island of Eldey, where he lived out the remainder of his days. His son, Leif Erikson, inherited his love of exploration and set sail across the sea. He and his men landed on the shores of Greenland and established a settlement called Vinland. But the Vikings didn't stay in Greenland. They explored farther south, into the vast unknown. Their ships carried them along the coast of Antarctica. What they saw there Whether they actually made it to the mainland, or simply sailed close enough to catch a glimpse, we may never know. But the sagas tell of a land shrouded in mist, where the sun shone brightly enough to blind a man if he stared too long at it. If they could have traveled all the way to Antarctica, then it's possible that even earlier, other groups of explorers from even more ancient times could have done the same. Could there really have been a civilization living in Antarctica 4,000 years ago, building pyramids and monuments now lost to the ice? Unfortunately, we don't know. The truth is that until the 19th century, no one knew of the existence of Antarctica. There are no official records of any expeditions or voyages to the area before that time. And yet, the very fact that no one knows what else might be hidden beneath the Antarctic ice means that we can't rule out the possibility. Perhaps one day new evidence will emerge, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that there really was a civilization living in Antarctica. Until then, all we can do is speculate. What do you think? Were these pyramids built by an ancient civilization, or are they simply natural formations? Let me know your thoughts. On the edge of the Giza Plateau, bathed in desert winds and eternal sun, stands one of the most recognizable monuments on Earth. The Great Sphinx, carved from a single block of limestone, this colossal guardian stretches 240 feet long, rises 66 feet into the air, and has watched over the pyramids for more than 4 millennia, at least according to conventional history. But what if the Sphinx is far older than we've been told? For much of its history, the Sphinx was buried up to its neck in sand. When Napoleon arrived in Egypt in 1798, only its head was visible above the desert. It wasn't until the 1920s that archaeologists cleared away the sands and revealed the full body. Officially, Egyptologists credit Pharaoh Khafre with commissioning the Sphinx around 2500 BC. But one artifact challenges that timeline: the inventory stela. This ancient inscription suggests that Khufu, Khafre's father, repaired the Sphinx after it was struck by lightning. If true, the Sphinx existed before Khafre and possibly long before the 4th dynasty of Egypt. And then there's the erosion. When geologists examined the body of the Sphinx, they found patterns of weathering not caused by wind and sand, but by heavy rainfall. But here's the problem. The Giza Plateau has been bone-dry desert for thousands of years. So when did this water erosion occur? Some scientists argue it must date back to a time when Egypt's climate was wetter. At the end of the last ice age, around 10,000 BC, if they're right, the Sphinx may predate the very civilization we credit with building it. A relic from a forgotten epoch, a message carved in stone, whispering of an advanced culture that thrived before history began. Now, this discovery has shaken the foundations of Egyptology. Mainstream scholars dismiss it as a fanciful theory. But, in the absence of concrete evidence, they can't prove it wrong. There are more mysteries to unravel, more secrets buried beneath the sands of time. But one thing is certain: the story of the Sphinx is far from over. Is the Sphinx really 10,000 years old? In a quiet suburban home in Ohio, behind an ordinary front door, lies one of the strangest collections in the world. The basement of Greg and Dana Newkirk. But this is no ordinary museum. It's filled with artifacts that people claim are cursed, objects so disturbing their owners begged to be rid of them. From a deer skull that brought nothing but accidents and illness to its owner, to rings that whispered of far-off graves and made those who wore them violently ill, to dolls that spread sickness wherever they traveled and made their owner's skin crawl. But among them all, one stood apart: the Crone, a rough wooden effigy, its head wrapped in a noose, its body pierced with rusty nails. 2 hikers discovered it deep in the Catskill Mountains while exploring an old mining cave. hidden inside a hollowed-out rock. They carried it home, and their lives quickly began to descend into chaos. Their pets acted strangely. Wet footprints appeared across their floors, always in the same places, day after day. And shadows lurked in the corners of their home, moving just beyond the edge of sight. Frightened, they sent the Crone to the Newkirks, who by this time had become somewhat accustomed to such things. Locked away in a box in their basement, the figure radiated an unnatural chill. But it was when visitors to the Newkirk's home came to view the collection that the artifact's true nature became all too clear. One woman came to look at the Crone and fell into a seizure right before their eyes. Another simply fainted, dead away. A third broke out into a violent coughing fit and had to be taken to the hospital. Yet another man, desperate to see the Crone, begged the Newkirks to let him look inside the box. He peered inside, and that was enough. His eyes rolled back in his head, and he slumped over, blood pouring from his mouth as paramedics rushed in. The Newkirks knew this object was too dangerous to keep. Its power over the living was too strong. So they returned it to the mountains. At the spot where it was found, the cave entrance was hidden by thickets of thorny vines, the perfect place to hide something dark. So at night, they crept deep into the woods. Moonlight filtering through the trees, they pulled the nails from the Crone one by one, releasing the energy they believed was bound to it. Then they left it there, hidden once more, except now free. And then, as if announcing its freedom, a chorus of coyotes began to howl across the mountain. Some say the cabin is still haunted by the Crone's presence, and many who have tried to remove the cursed objects from the cave have never returned. But here's the thing, does the Crone have a real curse, or is it humanity's fear and belief that gives these objects their dark power? Let me know what you think down below. In the lower Jordan River Valley, just 8 miles north of the Dead Sea, lies the ruins of an ancient city. It was buried beneath layers of earth and stone, hiding from the world for thousands of years. Archaeologists call it Tall el-Hammam, but some believe it's something far older and far more infamous. The biblical city of Sodom. According to the book of Genesis, Sodom and its twin city, Gomorrah, were places of corruption and wickedness. And the people were wicked too. God's judgment was swift and merciless. He rained down fire and burning sulfur from the heavens. Then he did something even more horrifying. Every person, every plant, every living thing was destroyed. For centuries, scholars dismissed this as myth. But could there be truth in the story? In 2020, researchers excavated Tall el-Hammam. They uncovered something extraordinary. The pottery was melted as if exposed to unimaginable heat. Building stones fused together. And they also found tiny glass-like spheres. These tektite are formed only in explosions hotter than any volcano. They also discovered rare minerals in the soil, minerals more common in asteroids than on Earth. What does this mean? The evidence points to a cosmic airburst, a meteor exploding in the sky with a force stronger than an atomic bomb. A single blast that obliterated the city and may have inspired the biblical tale of divine fire. But that's not all. Researchers found layers of salt in the ruins. Ancient pottery is encrusted with crystals. Could this explain the story of Lot's wife, who fled the destruction, looked back against angelic command, and was turned into a pillar of salt? If a massive shockwave threw salt from the Dead Sea across the valley, the legend may have sprung from a very real catastrophe. So what was Sodom's fate? A punishment from heaven, or the violent hand of nature, mistaken for the wrath of God? The ruins remain silent, but the charred stones whisper of a day when fire truly fell from the sky. Now, it's important to note that the exact location of Sodom and Gomorrah has never been confirmed. Some scholars believe it may have been a real place. Others argue that the story is entirely mythical. But the discovery of Tall el-Hammam adds an intriguing layer to the debate. If these cities really existed, their destruction would have been catastrophic. Imagine a day much like today. You're exploring the archaeological site of Tall el-Hammam. Suddenly, the ground begins to tremble beneath your feet. You look up to see a bright light in the sky. At first, it's beautiful, awe-inspiring. Then you realize it's a meteor hurtling towards the Earth. It's massive, perhaps hundreds of feet wide. As it approaches, the light intensifies, turning day into night. People scream and run for cover, but there is no shelter from what is about to come. With a deafening roar, the meteor explodes. Airburst, a tremendous fireball, engulfs the valley. The heat is unbearable, turning everything in sight to ash. People burn to death, their bodies reduced to ashes. Their screams are swallowed by the roar of the explosion. The air grows thick with smoke and debris. The sky is filled with falling rocks and molten material. Entire buildings are thrown to the ground, reduced to rubble. The earth trembles violently, causing even more destruction. After the light fades and the dust settles, total devastation remains. Everything is scorched and destroyed. The air is heavy with the stench of death and decay. Survivors, if there are any, emerge from their hiding places to witness the horror around them. Their world is changed forever. This is the power of a cosmic airburst. And if such an event occurred in ancient times, it could have been mistaken for the wrath of God, giving rise to stories like Sodom and Gomorrah. It's a sobering thought that such disasters could have happened in the past. It also highlights the ingenuity and adaptability of our ancestors, who would have had to rebuild their lives after such a cataclysmic event. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah has captured the human imagination for centuries. Whether based on a true story or purely mythical, it serves as a reminder of the awesome power of nature and the importance of seeking refuge when disaster strikes. Thanks for watching. When did God destroy Sodom and Gomorrah? Let me know in the comments below. And remember to subscribe for more videos like this. In the year 79 AD, the thriving Roman city of Pompeii bustled with life at the foot of Mount Vesuvius. Its shops, markets, theaters, and villas painted a picture of prosperity. It was a typical summer afternoon when the unthinkable happened. The mountain that overlooked the city erupted. A cloud of ash and fire shot miles into the sky. Superheated gas and rock roared down the slopes, engulfing Pompeii in an instant. Thousands perished. The city was frozen in time, buried beneath volcanic ash and pumice for nearly 2,000 years. Today, Pompeii is one of the world's most famous archaeological sites. Its streets, homes, and even food remain preserved, a time capsule of Roman life. But hidden within the ash lay a secret far greater than broken walls and statues, an entire library. Near Pompeii stood a luxurious villa known as the Villa of the Papyri, and inside it, nestled between the floors and the ceilings of the collapsed roof, archaeologists discovered more than 1,800 papyrus scrolls carbonized by the eruption, yet still intact. For centuries, they appeared as nothing more than charred lumps. But modern technology has given them a new voice. Scientists now use powerful X-ray scans and virtual unwrapping software to peer inside the scrolls without unrolling them. And what they found is astonishing. Philosophical texts, poetry, even discussions of atoms, ideas far ahead of their time. But could there be more? Some scholars believe hidden among the unread scrolls may be the earliest writings of Christianity, perhaps even letters from the Apostle Paul himself. If true, these scrolls could rewrite history. The eruption of Mount Vesuvius was one of the deadliest in recorded history. It obliterated the Roman city of Pompeii and its neighboring towns, leaving behind a haunting landscape of solidified ash and pumice. It was a tragedy of such immense proportions that it seemed destined to be forgotten. Yet, amidst the catastrophe, something remarkable survived, a testament to the indomitable spirit of human knowledge. In the villa of the Papyri, nestled amidst the charred remains of a bygone era, archaeologists unearthed a treasure trove, a collection of papyrus scrolls that had lain dormant for centuries. These scrolls, once thought to be mere fragments, turned out to be a literary goldmine, containing some of the earliest works of Roman philosophy and poetry. Among the most exciting discoveries were the scrolls containing the works of the Stoics, a school of philosophers who believed in living in harmony with nature and accepting one's fate with serenity. The villa of the Papyri turned out to be a veritable treasure trove of their teachings, providing an invaluable glimpse into this influential way of thinking. But the significance of these scrolls goes beyond their historical value. Many scholars believe that hidden among these ancient texts are the earliest writings of Christianity, potentially containing letters from the Apostle Paul himself. This would be a discovery of immeasurable importance, offering an unparalleled window into the origins of one of the world's most influential religions. Imagine the thrill of the archaeologists as they unearthed these fragile relics of the past, each scroll a potential key to unlocking a new chapter in human history. As they carefully unrolled them, the faded ink revealing profound philosophical musings, or perhaps the very words of Paul, they knew they were touching something truly special. But the story doesn't end there. In a remarkable display of scientific advancement, researchers have employed cutting-edge technology to delve deeper into these ancient texts. Using X-ray scans and sophisticated software, they have peered into the scrolls, virtually unwrapping them to reveal their secrets without causing any physical harm. This innovative approach has allowed experts to examine the scrolls in unprecedented detail, shedding new light on their content and context. The charred fragments that once appeared as mere rubble have been transformed into windows to the past, allowing us to witness the thoughts and ideas that once filled the minds of ancient thinkers. But the quest for knowledge doesn't end with what can be seen. Scientists are now venturing into the realm of the unknown, searching for hidden messages and undiscovered texts among the unread scrolls. Who knows what other secrets lie dormant within those brittle pages? Perhaps further analysis will reveal additional works of Stoic philosophy, shedding more light on this influential school of thought. Or maybe, just maybe, we will stumble upon the elusive writings of early Christianity, connecting us directly to the roots of one of the world's major religions. The Villa of the Papyri stands as a silent sentinel to the power of human thought and the resilience of knowledge in the face of adversity. What started as a buried secret has become a treasure trove of history, literature, and philosophy. And with every passing day, it yields more of its secrets, reminding us of the boundless curiosity and spirit of exploration that drives humanity forward. So what do you think? Are there any other lost artifacts you'd like us to cover? Let us know in the comments below. At the bottom of our planet lies Antarctica, the coldest, harshest place on Earth. A frozen wilderness of ice sheets more than a mile thick, and winds that scream past 100 miles per hour. Today, only scientists live here, isolated in research stations. But recent discoveries hint at a past that may be far stranger. In 2016, satellite images shocked the world. They appeared to show a pyramid, a massive, perfectly symmetrical structure emerging from beneath the Antarctic ice. Here it is again, Could it be natural? Or is it evidence of something man-made, buried for thousands of years? Some researchers claim these icy pyramids dwarf even those of Egypt, their square bases stretching more than 2 kilometers across. If true, the implications are staggering. Did ancient civilizations once walk Antarctica? Did they build monuments that still pierce through the ice today? Mainstream science says no, that Antarctica has been locked under ice for millions of years. But evidence suggests some regions may have been ice-free as recently as 4000 BC. Legends from Polynesia speak of heroes who voyaged south to a land of white cliffs, penguins and seals, a land they called the place of the ancestors. Were they describing Antarctica? And if so, could they have seen pyramids rising from its coasts? In 2017, German scientists drilled deep into the seafloor off the Antarctic coast. What they uncovered was astonishing fossilized remains of lush forests, plants once thriving in climates like modern-day Italy. Antarctica, it seems, was not always a frozen wasteland. It was once a green and fertile land. So, who lived here? And could they have built something monumental before the ice closed in? For thousands of years, Antarctica sat shrouded in myth and legend. Tales passed down through generations of Polynesians spoke of a great southern land, a place where the sun shone brightly even in the depths of winter. This mystical realm was said to be home to strange and wonderful creatures. Massive birds with long necks and strange white-coated apes who walked upright like humans. These legends, dismissed by many as mere fantasy, were, in fact, the first hints of a world unknown to Western civilization, a world that existed at the bottom of our planet. Then, in the late 19th century, the mystery began to unravel. As explorers braved the icy waters of the Southern Ocean, they returned with tales of a vast, desolate continent, a land of ice and snow, empty and uninhabited. The existence of Antarctica was confirmed, but what had been hidden beneath all that ice? Did ancient civilizations once call this frozen wasteland home? Did they build pyramids that still stand today? In recent years, satellite images have revealed a shocking discovery. Hidden beneath the thick layer of ice, almost 300 feet below the surface, are signs of a long-lost civilization. Their monumental structures, remarkably similar to the pyramids of Egypt, are scattered across the continent. These icy pyramids appear almost perfectly symmetrical, suggesting an advanced level of engineering and design. How could this be natural? How could such perfectly symmetrical structures arise from the elements? Some researchers argue that these formations are not pyramids at all, but rather mountains shaped by the wind and snow over millions of years. However, there are others who believe that these structures are much more than just mountains. They are the last visible traces of a lost civilization hidden beneath the ice. The discovery of these pyramids raises more questions than it answers. Who built them and why? What happened to their creators? And how did their civilization disappear without a trace? To unravel these mysteries, we must look back to the days when Antarctica was just a barren wasteland. Between 4000 BC and 12,000 BC, the Earth's climate was much warmer than it is today. Antarctica was virtually unfrozen and supported a wide range of plant and animal life. It was during this time that early humans may have arrived on Antarctica from other parts of the world. These humans were not the explorers and adventurers of the modern age, but rather a small group of pioneers seeking new lands to inhabit. Using primitive boats made of wood or animal skins, they ventured into the unknown. Driven by the desire for exploration and the need for survival, it was a dangerous journey. The seas were rough and the weather unpredictable, but these intrepid explorers were determined to press on. When they finally reached the shores of Antarctica, they found a land unlike any they had ever seen before. There were no trees or shrubs, only endless white plains of ice and snow. The temperature was mild and pleasant, however, and the explorers were able to set up camp and explore the surrounding area. They discovered a land rich in resources, with plenty of fresh water, fish, and other protein sources. It was a paradise compared to the harsh conditions they had left behind. Over time, these explorers established a small settlement on the coast of Antarctica. They built rudimentary homes and learned to survive in the unique environment. They developed new technologies to help them hunt and gather food, and they created tools to help them explore and expand their territory. Before long, their settlement grew into a thriving civilization. They built great cities and monuments, including the mysterious pyramids that still stand today. The civilization flourished for centuries, but eventually it began to decline. As the Earth's climate cooled, Antarctica slowly became covered in ice and snow. The once thriving civilization was forced to abandon their homes and flee to warmer climates. Today, we are left with only the ruins of their great cities and the question of what happened to them. The truth is that no one really knows what happened to the ancient civilization of Antarctica. There are many theories, but no concrete evidence to support any of them. Some believe that the civilization simply migrated to other parts of the world as the climate changed. Others believe that they were wiped out by natural disasters or war. Still, others believe that they were visited by extraterrestrials who either helped them or destroyed them. Whatever the truth may be, the mystery of Antarctica's lost civilization continues to fascinate scientists and adventurers alike. The discovery of the pyramids is just the beginning. There is still so much to learn about this lost world and its people. With each new discovery, we get closer to uncovering the secrets of Antarctica's past. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, leave us a comment. On the edge of the Sahara Desert, where the sun beats down on the endless dunes and the wind whispers tales of ancient times, stands one of the most iconic monuments in the world, the Great Sphinx of Giza. Carved from a single block of limestone, it stretches 240 feet long, 66 feet tall, and 62 feet wide. For centuries, it has watched silently over Egypt's sands, its enigmatic smile a riddle to all who gaze upon it. But the Sphinx is also one of history's greatest enigmas. Who built it, when, and for what purpose? These questions have echoed through the ages, defying easy answers and challenging our understanding of the past. For thousands of years, the Sphinx lay buried up to its neck in sand, its grandeur lost to the shifting dunes. It wasn't until 1798 that Napoleon's soldiers sketched it in, just ahead, emerging from the desert. The rest of the world remained hidden, lost to the sands of time. It wasn't until the 1920s that archaeologists fully unearthed its massive body, revealing the true scale of this colossal statue. The unveiling was nothing short of spectacular. As the final touches were made, the world marveled at the sight before them. A creature with the body of a lion and the head of a pharaoh, immortalized in stone. But even as the world marveled at the discovery, questions lingered. Conventional archaeology tells us that the Sphinx was built around 2500 BC for Pharaoh Khafre, as part of his funerary complex. It was meant to be his eternal guardian, watching over him in the afterlife. But there are contradictions. An ancient artifact known as the Inventory Stele tells a different tale. It records that Khufu, the pharaoh before Khafre, actually repaired the Sphinx after it was damaged by lightning. If Khufu repaired it, does that mean the Sphinx was older than both him and Khafre? Some researchers believe that it does. They point to the heavy weathering on the body of the Sphinx as evidence. It's not the kind of wear you'd expect from wind and sand. Instead, it shows deep grooves carved by water, suggesting a much wetter climate. Yet, the Sahara has been bone dry for thousands of years. So why would a massive stone structure be weathered so badly? The answer, some researchers say, lies in the Sphinx's age. If we go back to a time when Egypt's climate was wetter, possibly the end of the last ice age, around 10,000 BC, we can see evidence of a wetter climate. The Nile flooded more regularly, the land was greener, and the Sahara was a lush grassland. Could the Sphinx have been built during this time? If so, it would be over twice as old as mainstream Egyptology claims, a relic from a forgotten era, a civilization lost to history. But if the Sphinx is 10,000 years old, how did it survive the shift in climate? How did it endure the changing of the dynasties and the rise and fall of civilizations? The answers, I believe, lie hidden beneath the sands of Giza. For the Sphinx we see today is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath its pores and in the chambers beneath its massive form, more secrets may await. Secrets that can unlock the riddles of its existence, proving once and for all who built it, why they built it, and how it managed to survive for so long. The Great Sphinx of Giza isn't just a monument or a tourist attraction. It's a portal to our past, a silent witness to the rise and fall of civilizations. Its story is a reminder that our understanding of history is always evolving, and that there is so much more to discover about the world we inhabit. So, next time you stand before this majestic creature, remember that what you see is just the beginning. Beneath the sands of Giza, beneath the Sphinx's timeless gaze, more secrets lie waiting to be uncovered. And perhaps, one day soon, these secrets will come to light, revealing the true story of the Sphinx and its forgotten age. In a quiet suburban neighborhood in Ohio, inside an ordinary home, lies a basement unlike any other in the world. It belongs to Greg and Dana Newkirk, caretakers of one of the strangest museums on Earth, a collection of cursed objects. From the outside, their house looks normal, just like any other on their quiet street. But step inside, and you'll find shelves filled with items that people swear are dangerous. Items that bring misfortune, illness, and even death. How did it all begin? Greg and Dana never set out to collect cursed artifacts. At first, they were simply investigators of the paranormal. But over time, people began reaching out to them. "This object is ruining my life. Please, take it away." And so the collection grew. Before entering, visitors are warned that some objects cause anxiety, nausea, or even fainting. Others, people refuse to touch at all. Among the collection is a deer skull. A woman once bought it from an antique shop immediately. Her co-workers began falling ill. One was hit by a car, and the wall where the skull hung collapsed, nearly destroying her office. There's also a ring said to kill anyone who wears it, a Bible from a failed exorcism, and dolls that spread sickness wherever they go. But the most infamous artifact of all is known as the Crone, a sinister wooden effigy, with nails hammered into it and a noose tied around its neck. 2 hikers discovered it in a cave in the Catskill Mountains and took it home. Soon, terrifying events began. Animals behaved strangely. Wet footprints appeared on the floor when no one was there, and an overwhelming dread filled the house. When the Newkirks acquired the Crone, its presence was so disturbing that even seasoned paranormal researchers couldn't handle it. One visitor collapsed into violent seizures after simply standing near it. Realizing it was too dangerous to keep, the Newkirks decided to return it to the cave where it was found. There they performed a ritual, removing the nails one by one. releasing the curse back into the earth. As the final nail was pulled, a surge of energy filled the air. Coyotes howled across the mountain, and suddenly the Crone seemed like nothing more than a block of wood. But was the curse truly broken, or simply waiting in silence, ready to return to those who dare disturb it again? In the Jordan Valley, just north of the Dead Sea, tucked away between rolling hills, is a ridge. It doesn't look like much today, but buried beneath its sands could be the ruins of one of the Bible's most infamous cities. Sodom, almost 4,000 years ago, it was a bustling metropolis until one day divine wrath rained down upon it. That's according to the book of Genesis. It says that people were wicked in those days and that the Lord rained down burning sulfur upon Sodom and its sister city Gomorrah. Fire and burning stone came from the heavens, which destroyed every person, every building, every tree, every crop. The cities were completely wiped from existence. For centuries, scholars debated if this was just a myth, or if there was some truth to it. But evidence from Tall el-Hammam suggests something extraordinary. This archaeological site may preserve the memory of the world's first apocalyptic event. The destruction layer here dates back to around 1700 BC. Placing it roughly 400 years earlier than the Bronze Age collapse, when empires like the Hittites, the Egyptians, and the Mycenaeans all fell apart. Whatever happened here in the Jordan Valley was truly unique. Archaeologists have found layers of melted pottery, buildings burned at extreme temperatures, and tiny glass-like spheres. These are called tektites, and they recreated by an explosion so intense that it vaporizes rock and dust, hurls it into the sky where it cools and condenses into glass. And the soil itself is laced with rare elements commonly found in meteorites, but not naturally occurring in the region. These pieces of evidence together tell us that around 1700 BC, a cosmic airburst, a massive meteor exploding in the atmosphere above the Earth, obliterated the city in an instant. The energy unleashed would have been thousands of times greater than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. It unleashed a fireball that rained molten debris over the landscape, killing everyone in the city and scorching the land so severely that nothing grew there for centuries. Some scientists even believe that the force of the explosion was so immense that it left a massive crater, which then filled with water and became the Dead Sea. But the thing that really makes Tall el-Hammam unique is the preservation of another detail from the book of Genesis. Because the Bible not only describes fire from heaven, but also that Lot's wife, fleeing the destruction, looked back and was turned into a pillar of salt. Could this strange detail preserve a memory of the land itself being blasted with salt and ash from the Dead Sea? If true, then the destruction of Sodom was not merely a story, but the echo of a catastrophic natural disaster witnessed by ancient peoples thousands of years ago, remembered for millennia as the judgment of God. And yet, despite the apparent destruction of the city, some stories hint at survival. According to Jewish tradition, Lot survived the destruction and fled to the mountains. Muslim tradition agrees, adding that he escaped to the city of al-Bosra. There is no archaeological evidence for either account. But to many, the mere possibility of survival offers hope in the face of overwhelming odds. Perhaps the greatest mystery is how such a large-scale disaster could be forgotten over time. How did this civilization, once home to tens of thousands of people, disappear without a trace? Even after the soil was salted and turned to desert, the area remained inhabited for centuries. People kept returning to build their lives here, ignoring the radioactive signs and warnings from their ancestors. Then in the 1930s, the world's first nuclear reactor was built nearby, and archaeologists began excavating the site. They found a continuous occupation going back to the Neolithic period, around 8000 BC. The people who lived here built their homes on the ashes of their ancestors. Never knowing what had happened to them, over the centuries they adapted to life in a harsh environment, digging deep wells to access fresh water and growing crops in the rich, alluvial soil of the valley floor. It wasn't easy. The soil was highly saline and toxic, requiring constant irrigation to keep it fertile. The people also suffered frequent droughts and devastating floods as the river changed course. Despite these challenges, the land was too valuable to abandon. So people kept returning to build their lives in the shadow of disaster. But why did they stay? Was it fate or free will? Did they feel cursed to live in the shadow of their ancestors' doom? Or were they simply unable to imagine life anywhere else? The answer, like so many others, may lie buried beneath the sands of time. Was it coincidence that the world's first nuclear reactor was built here, or divine intervention through the forces of nature? You decide. The year is 79 AD. In southern Italy, the Roman city of Pompeii bustles with life. Its shops, villas, theaters, and bathhouses are full of people enjoying a peaceful summer day. But at 1 p.m., everything changes. The nearby Mount Vesuvius erupts with unimaginable force. A towering column of ash and fire shoots into the sky, then collapses. It sends a superheated wave of gas, ash and stone racing down the slopes. Within minutes, Pompeii is buried alive. Thousands perish as their city becomes their tomb. Yet, in this tragedy, something remarkable happens. The volcanic ash preserves Pompeii in perfect detail, freezing an entire Roman city in time. It's a one-of-a-kind window into the past. And nowhere is this more true than at the Villa of the Papyri. This luxurious estate was built on the Bay of Naples. It belonged to a wealthy Roman noble, possibly the father-in-law of Julius Caesar. When Vesuvius erupted, he wasn't home. He'd fled to a villa in the Greek island of Capri, where he would live out the remainder of his life. The house was occupied by slaves and servants, but they wouldn't survive the disaster. Their bodies were found preserved in the ash, frozen forever in their final moments. In 1750, workers digging a well stumbled upon its ruins. They discovered statues, mosaics, and marble floors. But also something far more astonishing: a library filled with thousands of papyrus scrolls. Together, they formed the only intact library from the ancient world ever found. Inside, each papyrus was made of layers of the plant papyrus, which grew abundantly in the nearby Nile River. These thin sheets were often rolled up and tied with string. When shipped, they were bundled together in wooden crates. The workers carefully unwrapped the scrolls and found that the papyrus had been carbonized by the eruption. They were charred black, brittle, and tightly rolled. To the untrained eye, they looked like lumps of coal. News of the discovery spread quickly, drawing scholars and scientists from across Europe. Over the next few decades, more than 1,800 of these scrolls were recovered. Today, most of the scrolls are kept in the National Library of Naples, though a smaller collection can be seen in the British Museum. Over the centuries, attempts to open the scrolls often destroyed more than they revealed. The papyrus was so fragile that even the slightest moisture could cause it to decay. For a long time, experts believed that the only way to examine the text was to unroll the papyrus, which could take weeks. And if the scroll was damaged, the text would be lost forever. Fortunately, modern technology has changed all that. Using X-ray scanning and virtual unwrapping, scientists can now peer inside the scrolls without opening them. Layer by layer, digital models flatten the papyrus and reveal the words written nearly 2,000 years ago. So far, most of the texts are philosophical works, written in Greek. There are discussions of poetry, logic, and the nature of the universe. One scroll contains a Roman comedy play called The Haunted House. Others are copies of famous works like Plato's Republic. But many scrolls remain unread, their contents still hidden in layers of ash. Some may prove to be administrative records or household accounts, but others could contain lost masterpieces of literature. The villa's library was used not just by elite Romans, but also by slaves and servants. It's possible that some visitors left their own writings here, either permanently or just for a day. Could one of these be an unknown work by Virgil or a letter from Cicero? Maybe even an early Christian writing from the 1st century. We know that Christians had settled in Pompeii by the time of the eruption, though there's no evidence that any lived in the villa. Still, some scholars have speculated that the letters of the Apostle Paul or other sacred texts might be locked inside the villa's ancient library, waiting to be discovered. Pompeii's destruction was sudden, violent, and tragic. But in that destruction, the volcano preserved not just a city, but a priceless time capsule of human thought. What new revelations might still lie hidden, waiting for the day when technology can finally read every last word? At the very bottom of our planet lies the frozen land of Antarctica, a vast, icy continent stretching over 5 million square miles, where winds roar at over 100 miles per hour and temperatures plunge far below zero. Mainstream science tells us that humans never lived here, that this barren world has always been too hostile for settlement. But, in recent years, strange discoveries have raised new questions. In 2016, satellite images revealed a massive triangular formation jutting out from the Antarctic ice. Its sides were smooth, its angles precise, a shape uncannily similar to a pyramid. Soon, researchers pointed out more formations, claiming there were several Antarctic pyramids, some dwarfing even the Great Pyramid of Giza. One appears to have a perfect square base 2 kilometers wide. But how could pyramids exist here? For decades, geologists insisted Antarctica had been under ice for millions of years. It was only in 2017 that German scientists drilling the seabed pulled up sediments filled with plant remains, ferns, pollen, and even signs of trees, the kind you'd expect in a warm rainforest. Their conclusion shocked the world. As recently as 4000 BC, parts of Antarctica may have been ice-free, covered instead with lush forests. If true, could ancient people have once lived here? And if they did, might they have built monuments, giant pyramids, that still pierce through the ice today? Legends from Polynesia speak of culture heroes who sailed to a mysterious land far to the south. They described it as cold, icy, and filled with strange animals, creatures we now recognize as penguins and seals. The Polynesians even called it the land of the ancestors. Why would they believe their origins came from such a place? Unless there was some truth to the story. Could Antarctica have been a cradle of forgotten knowledge? Some researchers suggest that if great civilizations once thrived here, their ruins might still lie buried deep beneath the ice, waiting to be discovered. Are the Antarctic pyramids simply tricks of geology? Or are they the last echoes of a lost civilization, erased by ice but not forgotten? We may never know for sure. Antarctica remains the most unexplored continent on Earth. Only fragments of its past have been revealed. But each discovery pushes us to ask bigger questions, like, how did life take hold in such an unlikely place? Could ancient people really have lived in Antarctica? And if so, what did they leave behind? And what secrets do the pyramids hold? It's no secret that Antarctica is one of the coldest, iciest places on Earth. So, how could life, any life, let alone complex civilizations, have ever existed there? Well, recent discoveries have painted a surprising picture. As we mentioned earlier, the German scientists found evidence of a warm rainforest existing in Antarctica as recently as 4000 BC. This suggests that at one point Antarctica was much warmer than it is now. But how exactly this would have supported life, specifically human life, is still a big question. Some researchers hypothesize that the continent's current ice sheet could have been much thinner, exposing more land and allowing for the development of settlements. Others suggest that ancient people may have lived along the coast, taking advantage of the ocean's resources. However, we don't have enough evidence to say for sure what forms of life, if any, existed in Antarctica in the distant past. The existence of the Antarctic Pyramids adds another layer to this mystery. These structures bear a striking resemblance to the Pyramids of Giza, leading many to wonder if they were created by the same people. But mainstream archaeologists are skeptical. They argue that the supposed pyramids are nothing more than natural rock formations that have been eroded by ice and wind over millions of years. Proponents of this view claim that there is no evidence of human activity in Antarctica dating back thousands of years. Instead, they suggest that the apparent human-like features of these formations are simply coincidences. On the other hand, those who believe the pyramids are man-made point to their striking regularity. How could natural processes create structures that are so geometrically precise? They argue that the coincidence of multiple pyramid-like formations is too much to simply ignore. This debate is far from settled, and it's likely that we won't have a definitive answer for many years to come. What makes it even more intriguing is the legends from Polynesian cultures, which speak of a southern land that was home to their ancestors. These stories include descriptions of icy conditions and unfamiliar animals, which seem to align with what we know about Antarctica today. But how could ancient Polynesian sailors have discovered a continent that was later hidden by ice? And if they did visit Antarctica, what evidence do they have left behind? These questions take us back to the beginning of the Antarctic Pyramid mystery. The Polynesians may have been the first to spot these structures, but their knowledge was lost over time. It wasn't until modern technology allowed us to see beyond the ice that the pyramids were rediscovered. Now we're faced with a choice. Do we dismiss these structures as natural phenomena? Or do we acknowledge the possibility that they could be the remnants of a lost civilization? The discovery of plants and potentially ancient human settlements in Antarctica challenges our understanding of the continent's history. It forces us to reconsider what we thought we knew about the past. As we continue to explore Antarctica, we can expect more surprises. Each new finding brings us closer to uncovering the secrets of this frozen continent. Who knows what other mysteries lie beneath the ice? Thanks for watching.